Stories by Fatimah. Episode 10, Susan's New Home. Susan was an 8-year-old girl. She didn't have a home and was forced to live on the streets alone. One morning, Susan was starving and she went looking for something to eat. She was looking for food for hours. She sat down and decided to take a rest. In front of Susan was a grocery store. "There must be some food in there," said Susan. She ran into the grocery store. She walked to the bread section and grabbed some bread, and after that she got some milk. "This is going to be good," said Susan. When Susan was about to walk out, one of the workers came up to her. "Excuse me, little girl, can you pay for that milk and bread or get your parents to pay for that?" said the woman who worked there. "Pay?" said Susan warningly. "I don't have any money." "What about your parents?" asked the woman. "I don't have any parents either," said Susan. "Tell you what, I'll pay for those things for you," said the woman. "Okay. What's your name?" asked Susan. "My name is Jay. And what about you?" asked Jay. "My name is Susan." Jay brought Susan the milk and bread. Susan exited the grocery store and started to eat. Susan later fell asleep. Susan was having a nice, peaceful sleep before something woke her up. Drips of water fell on her head. Susan opened her eyes slightly and saw that it was raining and there were thunderstorms. She couldn't find anywhere to go to keep dry. She ran around different places until she saw a playground. She went under the slide for cover. Susan was freezing. She didn't have any warm clothes on. The rain started to get worse. Susan saw a woman walking by the playground. It was Jay from the grocery store. Jay saw Susan and went up to her. "Quickly, come under my umbrella, Susan," said Jay. Susan quickly ran under Jay's umbrella. "You can stay at my house if you want," said Jay. Susan nodded. They both walked back to Jay's house. Jay's house wasn't that large, but it still looked like a cozy place to stay. When they got to Jay's house, Jay gave some warm clothes to Susan to put on. Jay even made her some soup for dinner. While they were eating, they started to talk with each other. "Do you live here by yourself?" asked Susan. "Well, I don't have a family because I grew up in an orphanage, and I lost touch with the friends I made at the orphanage," replied Jay. "It's okay. I'll be your friend since I don't have any either," said Susan. "That's really nice," said Jay. After eating, Susan wanted to go to bed. Jay took Susan to her spare bedroom. Susan lied down on the bed. "This is such a warm blanket," said Susan. "Glad you like it," said Jay. Jay tucked Susan in and also went to sleep in her own room. Susan had such a peaceful sleep. When Susan woke up, she heard Jay on the phone. She heard her saying something about rent. "Don't worry, I'll pay it in 2 days," said Jay. After she said that, the person on the phone hung up. Jay sighed and sat down on the couch. "What's wrong?" asked Susan. "It's just that I'm a bit tight on money, and if I don't pay my rent in 2 days, then I'll get evicted," said Jay. "Oh no!" shouted Susan. "I'm not getting paid enough at work to pay the rent," said Jay. "Can I help with getting some money?" asked Susan. "No, don't worry. I'll find a way to get the money," said Jay. Jay later got dressed and went to work. The grocery store wasn't that far from Jay's house, so Susan stayed home. Susan was a bit worried. She wanted to help Jay get the money so that Jay wouldn't end up homeless. While Jay was at work, Susan decided to go out and find some old cans she could sell. She found a few, but by the end of the day, she only earned $10. She tried selling other things she found in garbage bins, but no one wanted them. Susan started looking for small coins. She managed to find a 50-cent coin. "I don't think this will be enough," said Susan. When Jay got back home, she sat Susan down. "We're $100 short, and the total amount I need to pay is $840, said Jay. "We need that 100 for food and other things." "Then what do we do?" asked Susan. "You should get some rest," said Jay. Susan went to bed but was still worried. The next day, Susan woke up and saw Jay happy. She had put on sports clothes. Susan was confused about what Jay was so happy about and why she had put on sports clothes. "Susan, get dressed. I know how I can pay that rent by tomorrow," said Jay. "Okay," replied Susan. After Susan got dressed, they walked to the playground. "What are we doing here?" asked Susan. "I figured out that there was a running competition for local women happening in this park, and I can enter in this race." "Not just that. The winner gets $1,000, said Jay. "Yes, I know you can win the race," said Susan. "I better try really hard," said Jay. All the racers stood at the start line. The countdown started. When the alarm rang, Jay was the first one to start running. One of the racers almost caught up to her, but Jay didn't let the other racer win. At the end, Jay won the race and received the prize money. Jay was going to be able to keep her house, and Susan had a new home. Susan gave Jay a big hug. "Thank you, Jay, for letting me stay with you," said Susan. "You can call me Mom if you want," replied Jay. "Thanks, Mom," said Susan. "You're very welcome," replied Jay. "Now, let's go home," said Susan.